Hey you, it's true, with a slightly delayed review of the new ANASTASIA. And why is it delayed? Well, because my brain was frostburned, but more on that new status effect later. This new water princess feels similar in some aspects to the prior two water releases, Perry and Momotaro, and also comes with a good speed of 505. Her first active skill is the only spirit positive one, called Cold Steel, plus 2 spirit, 60 time unit cost, 300% damage to one enemy, plus 150% for each time this skill has damaged a non-sleeping enemy while on the battlefield, up to a maximum of 750% total damage. This ignores damage reduction effects, but nothing else. So this is not an execute, does not ignore counter, does not ignore skin effects, but the skill does also give one other random ally a Monarch token. Monarch tokens cannot stack and are removed by attack damage. We have seen those in Queen Elizabeth's skill set before, which means they can work well together. And then her longest skill, both in time units and in text, 100 time unit cost, 3 spirit cost. It is called the Royal Blizzard, and this one grants all enemies the sleep status effect for 200 time units. This is a forced one, obviously, so even if they have already slept, they will sleep again. However, afterwards, if there are enemies that are not asleep, for example due to a sleep ward or general sleep immunity, all of those non-sleeping enemies are granted Frostburn, and Anastasia will immediately get the next turn. So the 100 time unit cost of this skill only comes into play if all enemies are successfully put to sleep. Also, this skill becomes locked for 150 time units after use. Now, what is Frostburn? It is not the return of Freeze that some have expected, so Yuki will stay on the sidelines and still remain the only Frost unit, but to be fair, Frostburn probably fits better into the current meta. It is interesting because Frostburn technically is not a status effect, but effects that remove negative status effects will also remove Frostburn. So any kind of purification gets rid of it, but what that also means is that a unit that is Frostburning can still keep another status effect like Burn in the background. Speaking of Burn, whenever a unit that has Frostburn gets the turn, they will lose it as if they were sleeping, and then Frostburn is removed and the unit is granted the Burn status effect. So this is why this unit might be interesting to combine with other Burn units. But yeah, generally speaking, Frostburn is a bit of a purifiable disable. The disable effect is still stronger than this one, but of course Frostburn can generally last much longer if it's not purified. Moving on to her third skill, that is called Cold Degree. And yes, I'm noticing that I'm always saying the skill cold, and then we have an overlap with the cold part of that skill name, so let's see if the subtitles turn out to be correct. 300% damage to 2 enemies for a cost of 60 time units and 1 spirit. This is increased to 600% to targets that are sleeping, burning or frostburn, so that's a lot of potential conditions that lift up the spirit on this one. The good thing is this also ignores enemy damage reduction effects, skin passive skills and the counter stance status effect, and it also deals or hits all non-sleeping enemies that are targeted with a forced sleep status effect. Now generally a rather powerful skill, the only thing missing probably is the execute, but that might have been overkill. No worries though, she still comes with an execute because her last skill is called Blizzard Slash. 80 time unit cost, 1 spirit, 500% damage to 1 enemy. This attack cannot be redirected by guardians and ignores enemy damage reduction effects and any effects of non-boss enemies that would prevent the target from being defeated. This is a bit of a survivor skill because it is locked for 200 time units. However, the lock can be ignored while all enemies on the battlefield are sleeping, burning or frostburned. Something that can happen, of course, but the AI might still decide not to use it. And to be fair, the skill only becomes really strong after 200 time units have passed anyways, because then the damage is increased to 700%. 700% armor ignoring execute that also ignores Guardians. This is definitely a good skill, a bit reminiscent of Sorrow's Survivor's Blade. Looking at her passives next, Anastasia's attacks will not wake sleeping enemies, which is par for course. And whenever she defeats any number of non-conjured enemies with an attack, an imposter is added to the next in line of enemy reinforcements. An imposter that will obviously immediately enter the battlefield when this happens. We already heard about the Monarch tokens in her active side, which means she might have very nice synergy with Elizabeth, because both of these units will get the turn whenever an ally with a Monarch token is damaged by an enemy attack, even if it is defeated. Except of course if some more good stuff in her Icy Princess passive. Each time she damages a non-sleeping enemy with an attack, a random ally gets their current time units reduced by 10, which is a mild one, but still nice. And if she attacks a sleeping, burning or frostburnt enemy with an attack, she will fully heal, and Anastasia will also endure the next damage that would defeat her with 1 HP. So this is how she gets a temporary hold ground. And this temporary hold ground is especially nice because her second passive, Cold Winds, specifies that she is permanently burn and poison immune. The first unit that is permanently immune to both of these status effects, and as such an endure obviously gets even more interesting, even though it is ignored by execute skills anyways. Now Sixa already gives you a hint which units you likely wanna play Anastasia with, because whenever another water or fire ally enters the battlefield from reinforcements, 2 random non-sleeping enemies are granted Frostburn and 2 random non-burning allies on the battlefield are purified, meaning that negative status effects like sleep or poison are removed, obviously excluding deep sleep and lethal poison. Until Anastasia's third turn while on the battlefield, she cannot be defeated by damage and heals 25% of max HP at the end of every turn. Also, at the start of every turn while this unit is on the battlefield, so this is not time limited, if there is a sleeping, burning or frostburnt unit on the battlefield, she heals for 25% of max HP, so this is a rather low requirement for a perma healing. Allies also gain 1 spirit at the end of the turn, so she's also a spirit factory in that sense, making up for her skills not leaning towards the most spirit productive side, the active skills that is. And she will also get the turn at the end of that turn, which is an effect that cannot trigger again until 50 time units advances. So she has the Monarch tokens and this get turn mechanic in case she gets stunned. Now getting into the analysis section, what is notably absent in her skillset is any type of armor. The only thing that she can expect to reduce damage are some kind of barriers from her allies. Granted, this is no longer as big of an issue as it would have been just a few months ago, because on the recent releases, pretty much every single attack ignores armor anyways, though of course it would still be nice to improve her survivability against older units. Now the Frostburn status, or non-status, is quite different from what was expected, at least for me. The way this is a bit of an overlay over other status effects but can still be purified makes the battle dynamics interesting. Not sure if we needed yet another water gimmick so quickly after the deep sleep, but we do have it now, and we do have a unit that, despite being water, chimes very well with burn units. So which teams would I recommend Anastasia for? Clearly water sleep teams can benefit. The way she applies the Frostburn to sleep immune enemies also helps her teammates, even if they are not having any specific anti-Frostburn active skills. There are some very nice synergy effects with Queen Elizabeth due to the Monarch tokens, with Parry due to the Sleep All skill, and with Momotaro because of the imposter play, arguably also Yamato, which would make for a rather strong pure water team right now. Then there's also her synergy with burn teams, something that can definitely be considered if you are building such a team. You literally have to consider though if you want to take that plunge. The Frostburn and her ally entering skills seem to make Anastasia geared towards burn to a certain extent, but keep in mind still that she has a sleep all active skill. The Frostburn there is only added if enemies do not fall asleep, and if they do fall asleep, Anastasia will not get another turn. Instead, your burn team will then face a fully sleeping enemy team, which they will not be able to utilize. Then again, there are plenty of options nowadays to encounter sleep immune or sleep warded or stealth shielded units on the enemy team, so this should not be all that often. There are also some interesting hybrid ideas with Anastasia to consider, some of which can be seen on the screen, some of which include Zoro or other light units like Elmina. But this is where it ends, and I do have to say, in the majority of cases, I do think that Momotaro is still the more powerful water unit than Anastasia, and Momotaro is also more universally usable and applicable than Anastasia. There are some problems in Anastasia's skillset. She is burn and poison immune, but the slightly bigger concern right now I think is stun or sleep, both of which she is very vulnerable to. The stun to a certain extent is mitigated by the get turn mechanic, but both of her get turn mechanics do not purify her. So if she is asleep and gets the turn passively, or just by waiting, she will not wake up and that turn will be lost. Obviously she's also vulnerable to disable effects. Her damage output is nice, especially after 200 time units have passed, but only her final skill is a single target execute. Her first active skill, which granted she will rarely use, gives Monarch tokens, but otherwise is a bit underwhelming, considering that it only ignores armor and not counter or skin effects. Her only coming with an endure and no armor after 3 turns have passed can definitely be an issue for her survivability. Also, she is movable, which is certainly not ideal in the Momo meta we are in right now. Speaking of meta, I tested a lot of different Anastasia team build ideas against the top 5 of my SSR world rankings, which I would still consider to be the strongest platoon in Evertale right now, as I mentioned in my latest tier list as well. And not a single Anastasia platoon managed to get a victory against those 5. The only one getting close was Exo's Anastasia poison build, a battle you can see play out in the background. All that being said, with these drawbacks, I don't think she will break into the general top 5 of the current meta, but can still be a great pickup for sleep teams and a good one for burn teams. One last thing, with her skillset, she is also a good pickup at just 1 copy. Keep in mind that she passively produces spirit whenever there's a sleeping, burning or frostburnt unit on the entire battlefield. A very, very easy condition to fulfill, and the frostburn and sleep distribution can support her higher damage dealing teammates on the route to victory. Hope you enjoyed this extensive Anastasia deep dive. Share it with your Evertale friends if you did. Good luck with the fountain, and as always, thanks for watching.